My dear friends, I want to say a huge thank you to each and every one of you who has been a part of my journey. Your love, support, and encouragement mean the world to me. You are my family, my strength, and my motivation. Every like, every comment, and every subscription pushes me to work harder and dream bigger. So, if you enjoy my content, please subscribe to the channel and keep supporting me. Love you all. Olivia Lauren had grown accustomed to loneliness. It had wrapped around her like a heavy blanket ever since the night Michael died. 3 years had passed since the accident, but the silence in the house still felt suffocating. The only reason she kept going was Jake, her 6-year-old son. He was a restless child, too energetic for his own good, always running around the house, talking to himself, and playing imaginary games. Olivia often wondered if his wild imagination was his way of coping with his father's absence. The house they lived in was old, with creaking floors and long, shadowy hallways that seemed to stretch endlessly at night. It had been Michael's childhood home, passed down to them after his parents passed away. Olivia had always found the house unsettling, but after his death, it had become unbearable. The nights were the worst. When the wind howled outside, the windows rattled, and the darkness seemed to press against the walls like a living thing. Olivia had convinced herself that it was just her grief playing tricks on her, but lately, she wasn't so sure. Jake had started waking up in the middle of the night, whispering about something lurking in his room. "Mommy, he's in the corner again," he would say, pointing at the empty space near his closet. Olivia would check every time, turning on the lights, opening the closet, even looking under the bed. There was nothing. But the fear in Jake's eyes was real. And soon, Olivia started to feel it too. It was a cold, rainy evening when Jake found the book. Olivia had been cleaning out the attic, trying to get rid of old things when she heard Jake's excited voice. "Mommy, look what I found." She turned to see him holding a strange, red-covered book. Its leather surface was cracked and old, and the title was written in faded golden letters. "The Shadow Man." She frowned. Where had this come from? She had never seen it before, and it certainly wasn't one of Jake's storybooks. "Where did you get that?" she asked. "It was in my closet," Jake said, flipping through the pages. "Can we read it tonight?" A strange unease settled in Olivia's stomach, but she forced a smile. "It's just a book," she told herself. But when she flipped to the first page, a chill ran down her spine. It wasn't a regular storybook. The pages were filled with eerie illustrations, dark, shadowy figures with long fingers and hollow eyes. The words were written in uneven, jagged handwriting, and the first line made her blood run cold. "If you see him once, he will never leave." That night, Olivia read the book to Jake. The story was unsettling. It spoke of a creature called the Shadow Man, who lived in the dark corners of houses, watching from the shadows. He couldn't be seen unless he wanted to be, and once you became aware of him, he would never leave. Jake listened with wide eyes, completely mesmerized. But Olivia? She felt uneasy. When she finished the last page, Jake giggled. "That wasn't scary, Mommy!" Olivia forced a laugh and closed the book. "It's just a story," she reminded herself. But that night, she heard the whisper. A deep, raspy voice crawling out of the darkness. "Olivia!" Her breath caught in her throat. She turned on the lamp, her heart pounding. The room was empty. It had to be her imagination. It had to be. But across the hallway, Jake sat awake in his bed, staring at the open closet. Because in the darkness, something was moving. Olivia barely slept that night. The whisper she had heard still echoed in her mind. She kept the lamp on, her heart racing at every creak of the house. Maybe she was losing it. Grief could do that to a person, right? By morning, she convinced herself it had been a dream, a fragment of exhaustion mixed with an overactive imagination. That's all. But Jake looked different at breakfast, quiet, distracted. He barely touched his cereal, just staring blankly at the table. "Jake? Are you okay?" Olivia asked, setting down her coffee. He blinked up at her. "Mommy, do you believe in monsters?" Her stomach twisted. "Why would you ask that?" she said carefully. Jake hesitated, then whispered, "Because he's still watching." Her breath caught in her throat. "Who?" Jake glanced at the dark corner of the kitchen. "The man from the book." Olivia's blood turned to ice. "No, it's just a coincidence." She shook off the unease and forced a smile. "It was just a story, sweetheart. There's no such thing as monsters." Jake didn't argue. He just stared at the shadows, as if he knew she was lying. By midday, Olivia had made up her mind. She went up to Jake's room and grabbed the Shadow Man book. Holding it in her hands, she felt an odd warmth in the leather cover, as if it were alive. "Stop being ridiculous." She marched to the backyard, threw the book into the fire pit, and lit a match. The flames roared to life, licking the edges of the book. Olivia let out a breath of relief until she noticed something strange. The book wasn't burning. The flames curled around it, but the pages remained untouched. The leather cover didn't even darken. Her skin prickled with goosebumps. "This isn't possible." Frustrated, she grabbed the book and flipped it open. Maybe if she tore the pages, the words were different. Last night, the book had been a story about the Shadow Man, but now, the pages had changed. The new words sent a shiver down her spine. "You cannot get rid of me." Olivia slammed the book shut, her hands trembling. That's when she heard Jake scream. She sprinted into the house, taking the stairs 2 at a time. Jake was sitting on his bed, shaking, pointing at his closet. "Mommy, he's in there! He's in there!" Olivia rushed to him and pulled him into her arms. "It's okay, baby. There's nothing there." But her voice wavered. She turned toward the closet, its door slightly open. The darkness inside felt deeper than it should. It was midday, but the shadows inside the closet looked impossibly black. A cold wave of dread washed over her. She reached out, slowly. The door creaked as she pushed it open. Nothing. Just clothes. She let out a shaky breath. "See? Nothing." She turned back to Jake. "It's okay, sweet." A raspy breath, brushed against her ear. Cold. Rotten. Olivia froze. She knew she had heard it. Someone was there. Her pulse pounded in her ears as she slowly turned back toward the closet. The clothes shifted. Something moved inside. A hand-long, bony fingers slid out from between the shirts. Olivia grabbed Jake and ran. She didn't stop until they were outside, standing in the driveway, gasping for air. Jake clung to her, sobbing. "Mommy, he's real! He's real!" Olivia pressed a hand to her mouth. "This can't be happening." Then, from inside the house, she heard a slow, creaking sound. The bedroom door opening. Her skin crawled. She backed toward the car, Jake still in her arms. Then, through the second-floor window, Jake's bedroom window, Olivia saw something. A figure. Tall, impossibly thin. Hollow eyes. Watching. She gasped. The figure tilted its head as if it knew she could see it now. The whisper came again, crawling through the air from the shadows of the house. "You let me in." Olivia grabbed her keys. They had to get out. Now. Olivia didn't look back. She strapped Jake into the back seat, her hands shaking as she fumbled with the seatbelt. "Mommy, where are we going?" Jake asked, his voice small. "Somewhere safe," she whispered. She had no plan, no destination, just the overwhelming need to get away from that house. As she pulled out of the driveway, her heart pounded. She could still feel it. Something was watching them. In the rearview mirror, the house loomed behind them, dark and quiet. But as they turned the corner, Olivia saw movement in the upstairs window. A figure, standing there, watching. Her foot pressed, harder on the gas. But no matter how far she drove, the feeling of being watched never left. Hours passed. The sun dipped below the horizon, leaving the sky a deep, endless black. Olivia finally pulled into a run-down roadside motel, exhaustion weighing on her. They couldn't go to her sister's house. They couldn't risk bringing this thing to anyone else. As they stepped inside the small room, Jake clung to her side. "Can we sleep with the lights on?" he whispered. Olivia hesitated, then nodded. "Of course, baby." She turned on every lamp, making sure no corner was left in darkness. The bathroom light, the small lamp by the bed, even the flickering hallway bulb outside their door. But the moment Olivia laid down, an uneasy feeling crept over her. Something was wrong. She sat up. The room felt different. The shadows seemed longer than before. She turned to Jake, her breath catching. He was already asleep, his small chest rising and falling. But the closet door was open. Hadn't she closed it? Her stomach twisted. She slid out of bed, moving cautiously toward it. The light inside flickered weakly. With a deep breath, she yanked the door open. Nothing. Just an empty closet. Olivia let out a shaky sigh. Stop imagining things. She turned back toward the bed and froze. Something was sitting in the chair in the corner. Her heart slammed against her ribs. The figure was shrouded in shadow, its long fingers resting on the armrests. Hollow eyes, staring. The moment Olivia blinked, it was gone. Morning came, but the fear didn't fade. Jake was quiet at breakfast, poking at his food without eating. Olivia felt the weight of exhaustion pressing on her, but she didn't dare close her eyes. When she finally stepped into the bathroom to splash cold water on her face, she glanced at the mirror, and there he was. Behind her, a tall, dark shape, its head tilting in that unnatural way. She spun around nothing. A cold sweat broke out across her skin. She was losing her mind. Had to be. But as she turned back to the mirror, her reflection whispered, "You can't run." The light bulb above flickered and shattered. Olivia stumbled back, her breath coming in sharp gasps, and from the other room, Jake's voice called out, "Mommy," he followed us. Jake sat on the bed, staring down at his arm. Olivia rushed to him. "What's wrong, baby?" He slowly rolled up his sleeve. Olivia's stomach lurched. Dark, fingerprint-shaped bruises wrapped around his wrist, like something had grabbed him. "Did you do this to yourself?" she asked, trying to keep her voice calm. Jake shook his head. "He did it. Last night." Olivia's blood ran cold. "Why?" Jake swallowed hard. "Because I tried to ignore him." That night, Olivia didn't sleep. She sat in bed, watching over Jake, every muscle in her body tense. The motel room felt wrong. Smaller. The walls seemed to be closing in. Then she noticed something. The lamps? They weren't as bright as before. The light was dimming. One by one, the bulbs flickered. One by one, the light died, until only the small hallway light remained. Olivia barely breathed. Then the hallway light flickered once, twice, and went out. Darkness swallowed the room. And in that moment, Olivia heard it, the whisper right next to her ear. "You let me in." Something cold wrapped around her wrist. She screamed. The darkness moved. Olivia scrambled for her phone, her fingers trembling as she turned on the flashlight. The moment the beam cut through the darkness, she saw it. A shadow tall, grotesque, its limbs too long, its hollow eyes locked on her. Jake whimpered in his sleep. Olivia's breath hitched. "Don't wake him. Don't let him see." She aimed the light directly at the figure, expecting it to vanish. It didn't. The shadow man moved closer. "Go away," Olivia whispered, her voice barely audible. It tilted its head, and then, in a slow, jerking motion, it lifted one hand, long fingers reaching for Jake. Panic surged through Olivia. She grabbed Jake and bolted for the door. Her free hand fumbled with the lock. Come on. A whisper brushed against her neck. "You belong to me now." The lights flickered back on. The room was empty. But Olivia knew this wasn't over. Not even close. Olivia drove blindly, her hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel. She needed help. Priest? Psychiatrist? Demonologist? Who the hell deals with this kind of thing? Then she remembered Dr. Evelyn Loren, a paranormal researcher she had seen in an interview years ago. People called her a fraud, but at this point, Olivia didn't care. She found the number and called. Dr. Loren speaking. Olivia's voice came out in a whisper. "Something is after my son." A long pause. Then, "Where are you?" Dr. Loren's house was an old Victorian home cluttered with books and relics. The moment Olivia stepped inside, she felt the weight of something ancient pressing down on her. Dr. Loren wasted no time. "Tell me everything," Olivia recounted. The story, the book, the whispers, the closet, the figure. The way it followed them. Dr. Loren's face darkened. She grabbed an old journal from a shelf and flipped through the pages. Then she stopped. She turned the book toward Olivia. A drawing, a tall, hollow-eyed figure. "This entity has existed for centuries," Dr. Loren murmured. "He's not a ghost. He's something worse." Olivia's stomach twisted. "What does he want?" Dr. Loren's eyes flicked toward Jake. Possession. That night, Olivia and Jake stayed in the guest room. Dr. Loren had lined the windows and doors with salt and symbols, whispering chants Olivia didn't understand. This should keep him out for tonight. "Should?" Olivia echoed. Dr. Loren didn't answer. By midnight, the house was silent, then a scraping sound against the window. Olivia's heart pounded. Slowly, she turned. Jake stood at the window, his small hands pressed against the glass. "Jake?" she whispered. He didn't move, didn't blink. Then he turned his head in a slow, unnatural motion. His eyes were black. Olivia lunged forward, grabbing Jake's shoulders. "Jake, look at me!" His lips curled into a smile that wasn't his. Whisper crawled from his mouth, but it wasn't his voice. "You let me in." The room grew cold. The candles flickered violently. Dr. Loren rushed in, chanting under her breath, throwing something over Jake. Jake screamed a high-pitched, inhuman sound. Olivia's hands flew to her ears. It wasn't her son screaming. Jake collapsed. The air in the room grew thick, suffocating. Dr. Loren grabbed Olivia's arm. "He's inside him now. If we don't act fast, he'll never leave." Olivia knelt beside Jake's unconscious body, her hands trembling. He wasn't waking up. His small chest rose and fell, but his face was pale, his lips slightly parted as if whispering in his sleep. Dr. Lauren was already moving, gathering salt, candles, and an ancient-looking book from her shelves. "We don't have much time," she said, flipping through pages. Olivia's voice broke. "Tell me what's happening." Dr. Lauren hesitated. Then, "He's trapped. The entity is inside. Him now, controlling him from within." Olivia's vision blurred with tears. "How do we get him back?" Dr. Lauren met her gaze, her expression grim. "We have to force it out. But if we fail..." She didn't finish. She didn't have to. If they failed, Jake would be lost forever. Jake's body suddenly twitched. Then his eyes snapped open, but they weren't his eyes anymore. Black, hollow voids stared at Olivia, filled with something ancient and cruel. Slowly, Jake's lips curled into a twisted grin. "Mommy." The voice was layered Jake's, but also something else. Olivia felt her stomach drop. "Jake?" He sat up, head tilting in that unnatural way. Then his body lifted off the bed. Levitation. The air in the room turned ice cold. The candles flickered, violently. Dr. Lauren grabbed Olivia's arm. "It's starting. Hold him down." But the moment Olivia reached for him, he moved. 1 second he was on the bed. The next he was standing inches from her. His voice slithered into her ear. "You can't save him." A powerful force threw her across the room. She hit the wall, gasping for breath, and Jake, or whatever was inside him, laughed. Dr. Lauren moved fast, drawing symbols in chalk around the room, lighting sage, chanting in a language Olivia didn't understand. The walls shook. Jake's body convulsed, twisting unnaturally. His fingers curled into claws. His back arched violently. A low growl rumbled from his throat. Dr. Lauren's voice rose, her chants fierce and commanding. "Release the boy. You have no claim over him." Jake's head snapped toward her, his mouth stretching into an impossible grin. "I already own him." Then the lights exploded. Total darkness, and in that darkness, Olivia heard them. Whispers. Dozens of them. Voices overlapping, crawling into her ears. "Let us in. Join us. You belong to us." Something, cold and skeletal, wrapped around her wrist. A breath at her neck, and Jake's voice, soft and taunting. "It's too late, Mommy." Olivia refused to lose her son. Through the darkness she reached out, blindly, desperately. Her hands found Jake's face. She gripped his cheeks, forcing him to look at her. "Jake! Fight it!" His body convulsed. His hands clawed at hers. His face contorted in agony, but for a split second his eyes cleared, tears streamed down his face, his lips trembled. "Mommy, help me." Then the shadow swallowed him again, but Olivia had seen it. Jake was still in there, and she was going to bring him back. Dr. Lauren threw a vial of holy water at Jake's body. A horrific screech filled the room. Jake's body jerked backward. His arms flailed. His skin darkened, shadows crawling up his veins. The entity was fighting back. The room shook violently. The walls cracked. And then Olivia did the only thing she could. She wrapped Jake in her arms, held him tight, rocked him like she used to when he was a baby. "I love you, Jake. You're stronger than this." His body twisted violently. The entity screamed through him, but Olivia didn't let go. "You are my son, and I will never leave you." The darkness burst from his body in a swirling, violent storm. A deafening shriek filled the room. The shadow lunged for Olivia. but Dr. Lauren finished the chant. Blinding light erupted, and then silence. Jake collapsed in Olivia's arms. His body was warm again. His breath was steady, and when he opened his eyes, they were his. Tears spilled down Olivia's cheeks as she held him close. It was over. Dr. Lauren exhaled shakily. He's gone. The house was silent, the air clear. For the first time in weeks, there were no whispers, no shadows. Jake looked up at Olivia, his voice barely above a whisper. Mommy. He's still watching. Olivia's blood ran cold. She turned toward the dark corner of the room, and in the faintest sliver of light, she saw two hollow eyes staring back. For the first time in months, Olivia felt hope. Jake was back. His small fingers clung to her sweater as she rocked him gently, whispering soothing words. Dr. Lauren checked his pulse. His temperature, everything seemed normal. The ritual had worked. The entity was gone, or so they thought. Jake's voice broke the silence. Mommy. My head hurts. Olivia looked down at him. What is it, baby? He lifted a trembling hand to his forehead. There, burned into his skin, like a scar, was the shape of a black handprint. A chill ran down Olivia's spine. Dr. Lauren's face paled. It marked him. The ritual had expelled the Shadow Man, but it had left something behind. That night, Olivia didn't sleep. She sat by Jake's bed, watching him breathe softly. Every time he stirred, her heart pounded, afraid that he wasn't really Jake. At 3:07 a.m. she heard it, a whisper. Still watching, her body went cold. She turned toward the darkest corner of the room. Nothing was there, but she felt it. Something lingering. Something that wasn't supposed to be there. Morning came. Jake seemed normal. He smiled. He ate. He played with his toys. For the first time in months, Olivia let herself breathe. Maybe she was just imagining things. Maybe the trauma was making her paranoid. Then Jake suddenly froze. His small body went stiff. His eyes locked on the hallway. Mommy. His voice was barely a whisper. Olivia followed his gaze, and there at the very end of the hallway stood a shadowy figure. Tall, motionless, watching. Then, in a blink, it was gone. The days passed, but the feeling of being watched never left. Doors creaked open by themselves. The lights flickered, casting shadows that shouldn't exist. Whispers echoed in the night, and Jake started changing. He became quiet, distant. One night, Olivia woke up to soft scratching. She turned toward Jake's bed. He was sitting up, his tiny fingers scratching at the wall. She rushed to him. Jake, stop! She pulled his hands away, and froze. He had scratched something into the wall. A single sentence. He's still here. Dr. Lauren returned, flipping through her books, searching for an explanation. Then she found it, and her face went white. It was never about possessing. Jake. Olivia felt sick. What do you mean? Dr. Lauren's hands trembled as she turned the book toward Olivia. It was a sketch, a mother holding a child, a dark figure looming behind them. The Shadow Man didn't want Jake. He wanted Olivia. And now, he had her. A shiver ran down Olivia's spine. The whispers. The shadows. The feeling of something watching. It wasn't Jake who was haunted anymore. It was her. That night, Olivia felt it before she saw it. A cold presence, a whisper in her ear. You're mine now. Her body froze. Then her blankets were yanked off the bed. A black hand clawed at her wrist. She screamed. The room plunged into darkness, and in the shadows she saw him, the Shadow Man, smiling, reaching for her, and then total blackness. Morning came. Jake woke up alone. His mother was gone. He ran through the house, calling for her. No answer. Then his eyes landed on something in the hallway, a piece of paper. He picked it up, hands shaking. On it was a single message, written in his mother's handwriting. "Take care of yourself, my love. He's with me now." Jake stared. The paper slipped from his fingers. The hallway darkened, and from deep within the shadows, a voice whispered, "Still watching." James Sullivan tightened his grip on the steering wheel as the moving truck rumbled down the cracked asphalt road leading to their new home. Beside him, Anna Sullivan, his 7 months pregnant wife, scrolled through her phone, humming softly to herself. "This place looks quiet," she murmured, peering out at the nearly deserted street. The neighborhood had an eerie stillness, with most of the houses either abandoned or showing signs of age. A few scattered trees cast long shadows in the afternoon sun. James forced a smile. "Quiet is good. We need quiet," Anna chuckled. I know. You need peace to finish your book." James was a horror novelist, but ironically, he didn't believe in ghosts or the supernatural. He always laughed at the idea, calling it good for fiction, not for real life. Anna, on the other hand, was more open to things beyond logic. The house finally came into view at the end of the street, a towering Victorian-style mansion with dark wooden panels and an overgrown lawn. The real estate agent, Mr. Thompson, stood on the porch checking his watch nervously. "There they are," he muttered under his breath. James parked the truck and stepped out, stretching his arms. Anna followed, rubbing her belly. "Mr. and Mrs. Sullivan," Mr. Thompson greeted them, though his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "Welcome to your new home," Anna grinned. "It's beautiful." James, however, felt something off. The house was undeniably grand, but it had an air of neglect. The windows were slightly fogged, and the wooden porch creaked under their steps. "Has it been empty long?" James asked. Thompson hesitated. "A few years. Some renovations were done, of course. The previous owners left suddenly." James raised an eyebrow. "Why?" Thompson cleared his throat. "Just personal reasons." He quickly changed the subject. "Shall we?" As they stepped inside, the air felt heavier. The grand staircase curved elegantly towards the second floor, and the living room was massive, complete with a fireplace and antique furniture left behind. Dust floated in the afternoon light streaming through the tall windows. Anna ran her fingers over the wooden banister. "It's perfect." James nodded, though a strange unease tickled the back of his mind. That night, after hours of unpacking, James and Anna collapsed onto their mattress, too exhausted to set up the bed frame. The house was quiet, except for the occasional creaks of old wood settling. "I love it here," Anna whispered, snuggling against James. James smiled. "Yeah, it's growing on me." At around 3:12 a.m., James woke up suddenly. The room was cold, too cold for a summer night. The air smelled damp, like old wood rotting. Then he heard it, a faint scratching sound coming from inside the walls. James held his breath, listening. It was rhythmic, like tiny nails dragging across the wooden panels. He sat up, heart pounding. "Anna!" She was still asleep, her hand resting protectively over her belly. James exhaled, rubbing his face. "Just rats," he muttered, though a part of him wasn't convinced. The next morning, he mentioned it to Anna. "Rats?" She frowned, sipping her tea. Should we call an exterminator? I'll check it out first, James said. He spent the afternoon tapping along the walls, trying to pinpoint the source. The sound didn't come back, but as he walked past the basement door, he felt a sudden chill. The door was locked. Anna noticed him staring. What's wrong? This door? Did Thompson give us a key? She shook her head. No, I don't think so. James tried the handle firmly shut. Something about that bothered him. Later that day, while James was setting up his writing desk, the doorbell rang. Anna answered, revealing an elderly woman with sharp blue eyes and curled gray hair. Hello. Dear, she said, peering inside. I'm Doris Wilkins. I live 3 houses down. Anna smiled warmly. Nice to meet you, Mrs. Wilkins. The old woman's gaze flickered toward James. Ah, the husband. James stood, wiping his hands. That's me. Wilkins leaned in slightly. You folks bought this house willingly? James chuckled. Well, yeah. Why? She hesitated. Nothing. Just, this place has history. James's curiosity piqued. What kind of history? Wilkins pursed her lips. You'll find out soon enough. Then she turned and left, muttering something under her breath. Anna shut the door, shivering. That was weird. James scoffed. Nosy neighbors. Every town has one. But later that night, as James lay in bed, he couldn't shake the feeling that Mrs. Wilkins knew something they didn't. At 3:12 a.m., James woke up again. This time it wasn't scratching. It was a faint, muffled whispering. He turned his head slowly. The basement door was open. A dark gap loomed where the door had been locked earlier that day. James swallowed hard. Had Anna opened it? No, she was, still beside him, sound asleep. He sat up, heart thudding. It's just the wind, he whispered to himself. But as he approached, a sudden gust of icy air blasted from the basement, making the hair on his arms stand on end. A shiver ran down his spine. Something was wrong. He reached for his phone's flashlight and pointed it downward. The basement stairs vanished into darkness, but James could see something at the bottom, a wooden crib covered in dust, old, ancient. James's breath hitched. Then, the whispering stopped. He slammed the door shut. He didn't sleep for the rest of the night. James couldn't stop thinking about the basement. The image of that dust-covered crib at the bottom of the stairs haunted him. He hadn't told Anna about it yet. He didn't want to worry her, especially in her condition. That morning, as Anna made breakfast, James stood near the basement door, staring at it. "What's up with you?" Anna asked, flipping pancakes. James forced a smile. "Nothing. Just... I swear this door was locked yesterday." Anna frowned. Maybe it wasn't fully shut? James knew it had been. He had tested the handle himself. But he didn't push the conversation further. Instead, he decided to check the house's blueprints later that day. If the basement was that old, maybe there was something buried in its history. That afternoon, James sat in his study, researching the house. He had found a few mentions of it online, apparently. It had belonged to the Montgomery family decades ago, but no details about why they left. As he scrolled, a low murmur filled the room. James stiffened, the whispering sound. Again. It came from the walls, faint, indistinct, almost like a lullaby. His heart pounded as he pressed his ear to the wooden panels, a woman's voice, soft, singing. Then, suddenly, a baby's cry. James yanked away, breathing hard. The sound disappeared. "Nope," he muttered, shutting his laptop. At that moment, Anna entered, holding her stomach. "Hey, I think I just felt a kick," she said, smiling. James shook off the unease and placed his hand on her belly. "Sure, enough, their baby kicked." For a brief moment, all the weirdness of the house faded. James smiled. "She's gonna be strong," Anna smirked. "She?" James shrugged. "Just a feeling." But deep inside, that strange lullaby still echoed in his mind. That evening, James decided to explore the house more. While Anna rested, he checked the upstairs rooms. Most were empty, but one door at the end of the hall was locked. James jiggled the handle. Another locked door? Great. As he turned to leave, a loud thud came from inside the room. James froze. Another thud. Someone or something was inside. James hesitated before calling out. "Hello?" Silence. Then, scratch, scratch, scratch. The sound of nails against wood. James backed away, his breath shallow. He turned and hurried downstairs, deciding he didn't want to know what was in that room. Not yet. That night, Anna woke up screaming. James jolted awake. "Anna!" She gasped for breath, clutching her belly. James, it was horrible." James held her. "What happened?" Anna's hands trembled. "I was in a dark room. I heard a baby crying, but I couldn't find it. Then," she swallowed hard. "A woman was standing there, whispering something, but her face was twisted." James's stomach dropped. The lullaby, the baby's cry. It wasn't just in his head. Anna took deep breaths. It felt so real. James hesitated before asking, "Did she say anything?" Anna nodded slowly. "She kept saying, 'Give it back.'" James stiffened. "Give what back?" Anna shook her head. "I don't know." The next day, James visited the local archives to dig deeper into the house's history. A librarian, Mr. Harris, helped him find old newspaper clippings. James's stomach twisted as he read an article from 1928 Montgomery family tragedy. Infant daughter mysteriously dies in sleep. Mother found unresponsive days later. James's throat went dry. Another article, dated 5 years later, read, "New residents flee after reports of strange noises and apparitions in old Montgomery home." James shut the file. His fingers trembled. This wasn't just an old house. Something terrible had happened here, and whatever it was still here. That night, James barely slept. Anna tossed and turned beside him. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the room grew cold. James's breath turned visible in the freezing air. Then the baby's cry, louder this time. Anna whimpered in her sleep. James turned toward the sound, his heart hammering. Shadow stood in the corner of the room, a woman, pale, eyes black, lips trembling as she whispered, "Give her back." James's blood ran cold. He blinked and she was gone. Anna shot up, gasping. "James, she's here." James grabbed her hand. "We need to leave," he whispered. But deep down, he knew. The house wasn't going to let them go that easily. James barely slept after seeing the shadow woman in their bedroom. He spent the entire night researching hauntings, desperately looking for answers. Anna, on the other hand, had grown eerily quiet. She moved through the house as if in a trance, staring at walls, listening to things only she could hear. That morning, as James made coffee, Anna stood at the basement door, her hand on the handle. "Anna!" he called. She turned slowly, eyes unfocused. She wants to show me something, Anna whispered. James's heart pounded. Who? Anna blinked and seemed to come back to herself. She looked at her hand gripping the doorknob and jerked back as if burned. I don't know, she stammered. James pulled her into his arms. We need help, Em. Anna nodded weakly. I think it's too late for that. Determined to find answers, James forced himself to unlock the mystery room upstairs, the one he had heard noises from before. The moment he stepped inside, his stomach twisted. The room was a nursery. An antique rocking chair creaked slightly, moving. On its own, a dust-covered crib stood in the center, and on the wall, in faded paint, were the words, "Sleep well, my darling." James swallowed hard. Jesus Christ! Anna entered behind him and gasped. She stepped forward, brushing dust from the crib. A tiny blanket lay inside. She picked it up, her hands trembling. Then a baby's cry filled the air. Anna dropped the blanket and stumbled back. The crib started rocking violently. James grabbed Anna's hand and yanked her out of the room. He slammed, the door shut, but the crying continued, echoing through the walls. That night, James searched through the house's attic, hoping to find anything that could explain what was happening. He found an old wooden box, covered in dust. Inside, there was a diary. It belonged to Margaret Montgomery, the woman who had lived here nearly a century ago. As James flipped through the pages, his hands trembled. Margaret wrote about her daughter, Eleanor, who had died mysteriously in her crib. She was perfect, beautiful. Then one night, she was gone, and I heard the voice, the woman in the shadows. She told me she was taking Eleanor back. James felt cold dread crawl up his spine. Margaret's final entry was the worst. She says she will return for another child. She whispers in my ear at night, "Give her back. Give her back." I know now that she is waiting, and she is patient. James clenched his jaw. Was that what this ghost wanted? Anna's baby? Over the next few days, Anna's pregnancy took a terrifying turn. She grew weaker. Her skin became pale, almost gray. Almost dark circles formed under her eyes. At night, she would wake up crying and holding her stomach, whispering, "She's coming. I can feel her." James tried to stay strong, but his fear was growing. The ghost wasn't just haunting them, it was feeding off Anna. One evening, Anna screamed from the bathroom. James ran in and found her standing in front of the mirror, her hands clutching her belly. The reflection in the mirror was not hers. It was Margaret Montgomery, pale, with empty black eyes and a twisted smile. James grabbed Anna and pulled her away just as the mirror shattered into 1,000 pieces. James had reached his breaking point. He contacted a paranormal investigator, an older woman named Dr. Eleanor Carter. "You should have called me sooner," she said, walking into the house. "This spirit is strong. She's been here a long time." Anna, weak but determined, sat across from her at the dining table. Dr. Carter placed candles around the room and instructed them to hold hands. Then she called out, "Who are you?" The candles flickered violently. Anna gasped, gripping James's hand. Then a whisper filled the room. "I am the mother. The grieving mother. I want what was taken from me." Anna's breath hitched. "My baby?" The voice laughed coldly. "She belongs to me." The candles blew out, and a force slammed into Anna's body, sending her flying backward. James ran to her side. Anna was gasping for breath, her hands clutching her stomach. Dr. Carter stood frozen. "She's not just a ghost," she whispered. James looked up at her, desperate. "Then what the hell is she?" Dr. Carter swallowed hard. Something much worse. James and Anna were done playing games. They needed to end this now. Dr. Carter instructed them to find Margaret Montgomery's remains. "If we don't stop her," she warned, "she will take your baby." James's gut told him where to look the basement. With a crowbar in hand, he pried open the old floorboards, and beneath them, he found something that made his blood run cold. A tiny skeleton, wrapped in a decayed baby blanket. James felt sick. Eleanor. Anna's hands covered her mouth. "Oh my God!" Then a scream ripped through the house. The walls shook violently, and standing at the top of the basement stairs was Margaret. Her eyes black pits, her mouth stretched into an unnatural grin. "She's mine!" she shrieked, her arms outstretched. James grabbed Anna's hand. "Run!" The basement door slammed shut behind them, and then the lights went out. James slammed his shoulder against the basement door, but it wouldn't budge. Behind them, Margaret's figure was descending the stairs. Anna whimpered, clutching her stomach. "She won't let us leave." Dr. Carter pulled something from her bag, a small silver amulet. "This should weaken her," she said, gripping it tightly. Margaret let out an inhuman shriek. The lights flickered violently. James took the chance. He charged at the door again, and this time it burst open. They ran, through the hallway, through the front door, only to find themselves standing in the basement again. James's heart dropped. The house wouldn't let them go. That night, Anna woke up standing in the nursery. The rocking chair moved by itself. James found her there, staring at the crib. Her voice was not her own when she whispered, "She's almost here." James grabbed her shoulders. "Anna, listen to me. We are going to stop this." Anna's eyes rolled back. She suddenly grabbed James's throat with unnatural strength, lifting him off the ground. "You took her from me," Anna growled, her voice an echo of Margaret's. Dr. Carter burst in, chanting something in Latin. Anna screamed, releasing James. She collapsed to the floor, sobbing. I can't fight her anymore," she gasped. "She's inside me." James held her close, shaking with fear. The possession had begun. Dr. Carter forced James to read the rest of Margaret's diary. One entry stood out. "They say I lost my baby. But I didn't. The town took her from me. They said I was unfit to be a mother. They stole my child. They buried her where I couldn't find her." James's blood ran cold. Margaret hadn't killed Eleanor. The townspeople had. They had hidden the child's body in the basement, and now Margaret wanted another baby to replace her. Anna clutched her stomach. "She wants my daughter." Dr. Carter nodded grimly. "And she won't stop until she gets her." That night, all hell broke loose. Doors slammed shut. Windows shattered. The walls bled. And worst of all, shadows crawled from the corners. They were people. Figures, twisted in unnatural positions. Faces with rotting skin. The spirits of Margaret's victims. James grabbed Anna's hand. "We have to end this now." Dr. Carter instructed them to perform a ritual to send Margaret's spirit away for good. "We have to burn her remains," she said. James hesitated. "Won't that anger her?" Dr. Carter gave him a dark look. "She's already angry." They dug up Margaret's bones in the backyard. Anna, barely able to stand, held a match over them. Margaret's voice screeched through the air. "No, no, no, she's mine!" Anna dropped the match. The bones burst into flames. Margaret appeared, screaming as her body burned. For a moment, James thought it was over, until Anna suddenly collapsed, convulsing. Margaret was inside her now. James held Anna, tears streaming down his face. Fight her. Anna's eyes snapped open, black as night. A cold, guttural laugh escaped her lips. She's gone, James. Your wife is gone. James clenched his fists. Like hell she is. Dr. Carter threw holy water on Anna. She screamed in pain, clawing at the air. James grabbed her face. Anna, listen to me. Our baby needs you. For a second, he saw Anna fighting. Then she gasped. A black shadow rose from her body, writhing, screaming. It twisted violently before exploding into dust. The room fell silent. Anna collapsed into James's, arms shaking. Margaret was gone. As the first rays of sunlight hit the house, Anna suddenly groaned in pain. James's eyes widened. Oh my God, Anna, it's time. She was going into labor. They had survived. But the story wasn't over yet. Anna screamed as another contraction hit. James held her hand tightly. You're almost there, Em. Just a little more. Dr. Carter, now acting as a midwife, nodded. Push. Anna! With one final agonizing cry, Anna gave birth. The room fell silent. For a terrifying second, the baby did not cry. James's heart stopped. Then a loud, piercing wail filled the air. James exhaled in relief. She's okay. Our baby is okay. Dr. Carter wrapped the child in a cloth and handed her to Anna. Anna looked down at her daughter. Evelyn, she whispered. The baby stared up at her. Her eyes were completely black. At first, Anna ignored it. The baby's eyes will change, she told herself. Newborns sometimes have dark eyes, but Evelyn never blinked. She barely cried. At night, Anna would wake up to find the baby staring at her, wide-eyed. James tried to calm her. She's just different. But deep down, he was terrified too. Then, things started moving again. Chairs dragged themselves across the floor. The baby's crib rocked by itself. And the worst part, Anna woke up one night to see Evelyn floating above the crib. She screamed. James ran in just in time to see the baby gently lower back down onto the mattress. Anna sobbed. She's not our baby, James. James held her tightly. We need Dr. Carter. Now. Dr. Carter arrived and examined the child. She ran a silver cross over Evelyn's body. The moment it touched her skin, the baby screamed in pain. Dr. Carter's face turned pale. It's Margaret, she whispered. She's inside Evelyn. Anna collapsed in horror. No, we burned her. We sent her away. Dr. Carter shook her head. She never wanted to leave Anna. She just wanted a new body. James clenched his fists. Then we have to get her out. Dr. Carter's face was grim. There's only one way. Dr. Carter hesitated before speaking. The ritual we performed. It didn't destroy her. It only transferred her. Margaret Montgomery is reborn inside Evelyn. Anna shook her head violently. No, that's my daughter. Dr. Carter sighed. She's not human, Anna. Not completely. James clenched his jaw. How do we fix this? Dr. Carter looked at them with sorrow. There is no fix. You have to get rid of her. Silence. Anna froze in horror. You mean kill her? Dr. Carter lowered her head. It's the only way to stop Margaret permanently. Anna backed away. No, I won't do it. I won't. James swallowed hard. He looked at his wife, then at the baby. The child giggled softly. For the first time, James saw sharp little teeth. He felt his stomach turn. Margaret was inside that baby, and she was getting stronger. That night, Dr. Carter was found dead. Her body was discovered in the hallway. Her throat slit open. There was no one else in the house except James, Anna, and Evelyn. Anna held the baby close. "She's just a baby. She wouldn't..." James's voice was hollow. "She's not a baby, Em." Anna started weeping. James grabbed her shoulders. "We have to do something before someone else dies." Anna sobbed harder. "I can't kill her, James. She's our daughter." James clenched his fists. What if she's not? James needed proof. That night, he set up a hidden camera in the nursery. He stayed awake, watching. At exactly 3 a.m., Evelyn's crib began to shake. Then she sat up. Not like a baby, like an adult. She turned her head toward the camera, her black eyes staring directly at James through the screen. Then she smiled. James's blood ran cold. Margaret was in there. He finally knew the truth. The baby had to die. James rushed into the bedroom. "Anna, we have to do it. She's not our daughter." Anna shook her head violently. "No, I won't let you touch her. Anna, please," James begged. "She'll kill us next." Anna ran into the nursery and locked the door. James pounded on it. "Anna, listen to me." Inside, Anna rocked Evelyn in her arms, tears streaming down her face. The baby cooed softly. Then it whispered in a woman's voice, "You won't let them hurt me. Will you, Mommy?" Anna froze. Her hands trembled as she looked down at the innocent-looking baby. Margaret was speaking through her. Anna had to make a choice. Anna sat on the nursery floor, rocking Evelyn in her arms. James pounded on the locked door. "Anna, open." "This door now!" Anna whispered to the baby, tears streaming down her face. "Don't listen to him, my love. I will protect you," the baby smiled. A twisted, knowing smile. James rammed his shoulder against the door. Bang! Anna stood up. She grabbed a pair of scissors from the changing table. The door burst open. James stormed in. "Anna, step away from her." Anna raised the scissors. "Stay back." James froze. His wife was willing to fight him, to protect the monster. A sudden cold gust of wind filled the room. The baby giggled. Then she spoke, in Margaret's voice. "You really think you can stop me, James?" James's blood ran cold. Anna stared at the baby in horror. Her tiny body began to change. Her skin darkened, stretched. Her small fingers grew into long, sharp claws. The crib cracked and shattered. Evelyn was no longer a baby. She was Margaret Montgomery, reborn. James grabbed Anna's wrist. "Run!" But Anna resisted. She still saw Evelyn as her child. James didn't have time to argue. He dragged her out of the nursery. Margaret laughed behind them. "Run! Run! Run! But you can't escape me." The hallway tilted. Walls stretched. Doors vanished. Margaret's power was limitless now. James yanked Anna toward the basement. "We need to end this." But as they reached the stairs, Anna stopped. She looked at James with dead, empty eyes. "I won't let you hurt my baby." Then she stabbed James in the stomach. James gasped in pain. Blood spilled from his abdomen. Anna, crying, pulled out the scissors. "I'm sorry, James. I can't let you do this." James collapsed to the floor. Anna turned and walked back upstairs. Back to her child. James groaned in pain, fighting to stay conscious. Through blurred vision, he saw something glinting in the basement. A box. Dr. Carter's old research. With shaky hands, he crawled toward it. Inside, he found a leather-bound book, and on the first page, a ritual to banish a demon back to hell. James gritted his teeth. He wasn't dead yet, and neither was his fight. James staggered upstairs, bleeding. He found Anna kneeling before Margaret. The demon, now fully grown, towered over her. "You've done well, Mother," Margaret whispered. "Now give yourself to me." Anna nodded weakly. James threw holy water at Margaret. The demon shrieked. James began chanting. The words burned his throat, but he kept going. The room shook violently. Margaret screeched, her skin blistering. Anna cried out, "James, stop!" But he didn't. He had one chance to end this. Margaret's claws slashed at James's face, but he kept chanting. The house cracked and trembled. James's voice rose above the chaos. "Begone, foul spirit! You are bound to hell!" Margaret let out an unholy scream. Her body burned with dark fire. James's heart pounded. It was working. Then Anna stepped in front of Margaret, tears in her eyes. "If she goes, I go too." James's heart shattered. Anna smiled sadly. "She's my daughter, James. I'll always be with her." Then she let Margaret consume her. The demon and Anna's body both erupted into flames, and then silence. The house was gone, reduced to ash. James stumbled out, bloody and broken. He fell to his knees. Anna was gone. Margaret was gone. But at what cost? As the sun rose, James whispered, "I'm sorry, Anna." Then he heard something, a baby's cry. His head snapped up, and there, among the rubble, a tiny, untouched crib. Inside it, Evelyn. Her eyes were normal. Her smile was pure. James's heart ached. Was she finally free, or was Margaret still inside her, waiting? 1 year later, James sat in a park, watching Evelyn play. She was a normal child now, or so it seemed. As she ran toward him, she giggled. A familiar, chilling giggle. James's blood froze. Evelyn smiled up at him. "Daddy, will you always protect me?" James hesitated. Then he forced a smile. "Always, sweetheart." As he hugged her, he didn't see her eyes slowly turn black. Evelyn Carter had spent her entire life chasing the unknown. The thrill of discovery, the pursuit of forbidden knowledge, it had always been her driving force. The relic, the one she had spent years researching, wasn't just a myth. It was real, hidden beneath the ruins of a forgotten underground temple, deep beneath an abandoned European cathedral. Her father had searched for it too, decades ago, and he never returned. Now she was determined to finish what he started. Evelyn stood in her dimly lit apartment, staring at the collection of ancient maps, faded parchments, and symbols drawn in red ink across the walls. She traced the lines with her fingers, whispering to herself, "It has to be here." A knock at the door startled her. Daniel "Danny" Hayes stepped in, frowning at the mess. "Evelyn, tell me you're not still chasing this nonsense." "It's not nonsense, Danny," she said, grabbing a stack of papers and shoving them toward him. "It's real. The temple exists, and I'm going to find it." Danny sighed. "We've been through this. Do you really think you can succeed where your father failed?" Evelyn's jaw tightened. "Yes." Danny ran a hand through his hair. "So, let me guess. You need me to come with you?" Evelyn smirked. "Of course. What's an expedition without a historian? To verify my discoveries?" Danny groaned but didn't refuse. He never did. Evelyn had spent years preparing for this. She knew the tunnels beneath the old cathedral were dangerous, labyrinthine, and possibly cursed. She needed a team that knew how to navigate the underground world. That's where Luke Evans came in. Luke was a local explorer, someone who had been through every known tunnel system in the city. He had contacts, knowledge of underground pathways, and most importantly, he knew how to survive. They met in a dimly lit bar, the air thick with cigarette smoke and old secrets. Luke leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "You want to go deeper than anyone's ever gone?" he said, raising an eyebrow. "Sounds like a suicide mission." Evelyn slid a thick envelope of cash across the table. "Interested now?" Luke glanced at his partner, Nina Calloway, a tall woman with sharp eyes and an even sharper instinct for danger. She exchanged a look with him and nodded. "Fine," Luke said. "But don't say I didn't warn you. No one who's gone that deep has ever come back." Evelyn smiled. "Then let's make history." The entrance to the underground tunnels was beneath an old, abandoned cathedral on the outskirts of the city. The place reeked of decay and forgotten prayers. Evelyn ran her fingers over the cracked stone walls as they made their way inside. Faded murals of saints and angels watched them with hollow eyes. Marcus Reed, the team's cameraman, adjusted his gear. "Hope you're getting my good side," he joked, trying to lighten the mood. "Trust me, your good side isn't the problem," Nina muttered. Luke led them deeper into the ruins, down a flight of worn stone steps. The air grew colder, the walls tighter. The deeper they went, the more it felt like something was watching them. Finally, they reached a massive iron gate covered in strange markings. The symbols were unlike anything Evelyn had seen before, ancient, unsettling. Danny hesitated. "Are we sure about this?" Evelyn didn't answer. She placed a hand on the gate and pushed. The iron groaned in protest, but then, with a loud creak, it swung open, revealing a passage so dark it seemed to swallow the light. Luke whistled. "Well, no turning back now." They stepped inside. The gate slammed shut behind them. The tunnels stretched on endlessly. Their flashlights barely pierced the darkness. The walls were covered in carvings, depictions of ancient rituals, human figures kneeling before something monstrous. Danny ran his fingers over the stone. "These symbols, they're not from one culture. They're a mix of different civilizations, some dating back thousands of years." Evelyn's heartbeat quickened. "That means this temple was used by multiple generations, different people, different times, all coming here for the same thing." Marcus adjusted his camera, his voice echoing. "And what exactly were they worshipping?" No one answered. Further in, they found something impossible, a staircase spiraling downward, even though they were already far below the surface. Nina shivered. "I don't like this." "We've come too far to stop now," Evelyn said, masking her own unease. They descended. With every step, the air grew thicker, heavier, as if something ancient was breathing beneath the stone, and then the whispers began. Soft at first, like a distant breeze carrying voices from a time long forgotten. Danny stopped in his tracks. "Did you hear that?" Marcus panned his camera around. "Please tell me that was just the wind." Luke shook his head. "There's no wind." Down here, the whispers grew louder, and then Evelyn saw it, a shadow, darting just at the edge of their light. "Something's down here with us," she whispered. They pressed on. The tunnel eventually opened into a vast underground chamber. At its center stood an altar covered in dried blood. Danny swallowed hard. What the hell happened here? Nina knelt beside the altar, running a hand over its surface. This wasn't just used for worship. This was a sacrifice chamber. Marcus was still filming, his camera pointed at the altar. "I don't like this. We should go." Evelyn stepped forward. She noticed something etched into the stone beneath the bloodstains, a single phrase, written in an ancient language. Danny translated, his voice barely above a whisper. "To enter is to be chosen. To turn back is to be damned." The temperature dropped. Instantly, the whispers turned into screams. The floor shook violently, and from the darkness behind them, something moved. Not a person. Not an animal. Something else. Marcus screamed. The last thing Evelyn saw before the lights flickered out was a pair of glowing red eyes staring at them from the darkness. And then, the gate slammed shut once again. They were trapped. The chamber plunged into total darkness. The screams of Marcus echoed through the tunnels. Evelyn's breath came in ragged gasps as she fumbled with her flashlight. The air was thick, suffocating, as if the walls themselves were closing in. Then, light. Luke's flashlight flickered back on, casting long, eerie shadows across the blood-stained altar. Marcus was gone. Nina spun around, her voice sharp with fear. "Where the hell is Marcus?" Evelyn's stomach twisted. Just moments ago, he had been right beside them. Now, there was nothing left but the camera he had been holding, lying cracked on the stone floor. Danny picked it up with shaking hands. The screen flickered, the last footage still visible. They watched in silence. The video showed Marcus standing by the altar, adjusting the camera settings. Then, the shadows behind him moved. Something black and shapeless reached out from the darkness. A hand? A claw? It grabbed Marcus, pulling him back into the abyss, and the last thing caught on film was his scream. Danny dropped the camera. "Oh my God!" Luke grabbed Evelyn's arm. "We have to leave, now!" Evelyn swallowed hard, glancing back at the dark tunnel leading deeper into the ruins. "No," she said. "Not yet." They couldn't leave without Marcus. They followed the drag marks left on the floor, leading down a narrow passageway. The walls here were different, covered in thousands of handprints, some small, like children's, others inhumanly large. Danny whispered, "Who left these?" No one answered. As they walked, the tunnel began twisting, the walls warping in ways that didn't make sense. It was as if reality itself was bending. Then, the passage opened into another chamber. A massive pit yawned before them, so deep their flashlights couldn't reach the bottom, and standing at the edge was Marcus. Nina let out a shaky breath. "Marcus! Jesus, we thought." But as they stepped closer, something was wrong. Marcus wasn't moving. His back was to them, his arms hanging limply at his sides. His head was tilted at an unnatural angle. Danny hesitated. "Marcus!" Then Marcus turned. His eyes were gone. Deep, empty sockets stared back at them. A smile stretched across his face, too wide, too unnatural, and then he lunged. Marcus wasn't Marcus anymore. He moved too fast, his limbs twisting in ways no human should be able to. His mouth stretched open, revealing jagged, blackened teeth. "Run!" Luke shouted. They bolted back into the tunnel, Marcus's inhuman shrieks following close behind. The corridor shifted around them, the exit disappearing and reappearing, leading them deeper instead of out. Evelyn's lungs burned as she ran, her mind racing. This wasn't normal. The tunnels were playing with them. Nina screamed. Evelyn turned. Marcus was right behind them, his hands elongated, fingers like claws. Danny shoved a rock shelf, sending debris tumbling down. The collapse barely slowed Marcus. The chase seemed endless, until They burst into another cavern, this one filled with mirrors. Dozens of ancient, cracked mirrors lined the walls, reflecting their panicked faces. And then, in every mirror they saw, Marcus, hundreds of him, each reflection moving independently, whispering in voices not their own. "You shouldn't have come. You don't belong here." Evelyn clutched her head. The whispers were inside her skull. Luke shattered one of the mirrors with a punch, and Marcus disappeared. Just like that. His body collapsed into a heap, lifeless. Danny gasped, panting. What the hell was that? Evelyn looked around at the remaining mirrors, her pulse hammering. We need to keep moving. The tunnels became even more confusing. Every turn led them back to the same corridors, the same rooms. Time lost meaning. Nina checked her watch. It's been hours. Danny looked at her. Your watch stopped 3 hours ago. Evelyn clenched her fists. They weren't just trapped underground. They were trapped in something else, something alive. Then they heard it. Footsteps. Soft, slow, coming from all directions. Luke raised his flashlight. Something moved in the shadows. Tall, distorted figures with faces wrapped in cloth stood in the darkness, their hollow eye sockets leaking black liquid. Danny's breath hitched. Are they watching us? The figures tilted their heads, in unison. Then they started walking toward them. Evelyn grabbed Danny's arm. Run! They sprinted deeper, taking turns at random, desperate to escape. Then suddenly silence. The figures were gone, and in front of them stood a single wooden door. It was wrong. The door looked new, untouched by time, unlike the rest of the ruins. Danny reached for it. Do we go in? Evelyn hesitated. Something about it felt final. She stepped forward and turned the handle. The door opened by itself. Inside was a throne room, or at least what used to be one. A massive stone chair sat in the center, draped in ancient decayed fabric. Surrounding it were human bones piled high, and sitting on the throne was a man in red robes, or at least something that looked like a man. His face was blurred, shifting like smoke, impossible to focus on. You have come far, he said, his voice like an echo through time. Evelyn swallowed. Who are you? The man leaned forward. I am the gatekeeper. Luke narrowed his eyes. Gatekeeper of what? The figure smiled. Of the ones who wish to leave. Silence. Danny's voice shook. And how do we leave? The gatekeeper gestured toward the piles of bones. An offering must be made. Evelyn's blood ran cold. You mean a sacrifice? The gatekeeper tilted his head. One must die. The others may go free. Danny paled. He's lying. He's just playing with us. The gatekeeper simply chuckled. The choice is yours. Silence hung in the air. The gatekeeper's faceless grin stretched wider as he waited for an answer. One of them had to die. Danny clenched, his fists. He's lying. He has to be lying. The gatekeeper tilted his head. You've already seen what happens to those who don't obey the rules. Evelyn's heart pounded. Marcus. The way the tunnels had twisted reality. The mirrors that trapped them. What if this was real? What if they had no choice? Luke stepped forward. We're not killing anyone. The gatekeeper laughed softly, standing, from his throne. The torches along the walls flickered violently as his shadow stretched unnaturally long. You don't have to decide now, he whispered. The tunnels will decide for you. Then he was gone. The room shattered like glass, and suddenly, they were somewhere else. The group found themselves standing in a long, endless corridor. The stone walls were different, smoother, newer. Then the lights flickered on. Fluorescent. Cold, buzzing fluorescent lights. Danny's breath hitched. What the hell? The hallway looked modern, like a hospital or an abandoned research lab. This doesn't make sense, Nina whispered. Evelyn touched the walls. They were cold, metallic. They were no longer underground. Or at least, it didn't feel like they were. Luke pointed down the corridor. There's a door. They moved cautiously, stepping over dried blood splatters along the floor. The smell of rotting flesh thickened in the air. Then the walls shuddered. A deep guttural growl echoed from the end of the hall. Something was coming. Danny yanked open the door, and they rushed inside. The room was massive. Rows of hospital beds lined the walls, each occupied by decayed, motionless bodies strapped down with leather restraints. The air was frigid. A single TV screen flickered in the center of the room. Evelyn stepped closer. The screen showed grainy, black-and-white footage of a young woman strapped to a bed, thrashing violently. Then a doctor entered the frame. He looked exactly like the gatekeeper. They watched as the doctor lifted a rusted surgical saw, and without hesitation he cut into the woman's chest. The screen glitched, then froze on a single frame. A message appeared. The offering was accepted. Nina covered her mouth, her body trembling. This place is cursed. Luke turned toward the exit. We need to leave now. Then one of the bodies in the beds moved. Evelyn gasped as a frail, skeletal hand shot out, grabbing her wrist. The corpse's rotting face turned toward her, its mouth stretching open in a silent scream. And suddenly, every single body in the room sat up, their hollow eyes locked onto them. Then, in unison, they screamed. The group ran. The hospital corridor twisted and shifted, leading them deeper instead of toward an exit. The walls pulsed as if they were alive. Danny tripped, falling hard. The others turned just in time to see something crawl out from the shadows behind him. A grotesque humanoid figure, its skin stitched together with crude thread, emerged from the darkness. It was laughing. Danny scrambled backward, but the creature was fast. It lunged and Luke tackled it before it could reach him. The creature shrieked, its voice an unnatural mix of human and animal sounds. It twisted, grabbing Luke by the throat. Its fingers were too long, too sharp. Evelyn grabbed a rusted pipe from the floor and swung hard. The creature howled, releasing Luke and crawling backward into the darkness. For now, it was gone. But the walls whispered. There were more. They reached a staircase leading down. Why are we going deeper? Nina sobbed. Evelyn clenched her jaw. There's no other way. They descended, the air growing heavier, hotter. When they reached the bottom, they found themselves in a circular chamber. At the center was a massive stone tablet, covered in ancient inscriptions. Danny stepped closer. This is the same writing we saw near the altar. Then, beneath the inscriptions, there was something else, carvings of human figures. Figures that looked exactly like them. Their names were etched into the stone, and beside each name there was a symbol. One of the names had already been crossed out. Marcus. Luke took a step back. This was planned. We were meant to be here. Nina's breath quickened. Then what happens next? Danny swallowed. One of us dies. Then the ceiling above them split open, and something ancient began to descend from the darkness. A massive figure emerged. It was him, the gatekeeper, but this time he was no longer human. His faceless head twisted unnaturally, his body elongating into a nightmarish shape. His voice was everywhere at once. "You have seen the truth. You were always meant to be here." He raised his arms, and the walls came alive, black tendrils writhing. Toward them, Evelyn grabbed Luke's hand. "We have to fight!" Danny lifted a rock, hurling it at the gatekeeper. The moment it hit the ground beneath them, cracked. The entire chamber collapsed, and they were falling, down, down, into the abyss. They were falling. The darkness swallowed them whole, a void without end. The air rushed past, howling in their ears, then impact. Evelyn gasped as she hit the ground. The others landed scattered around her, groaning in pain. The floor beneath them was soft, not stone, not earth, something else. She reached down, fingers sinking into flesh. The ground was alive. Danny scrambled up, gagging. "What the hell is this place?" Luke pointed ahead. A massive stone doorway stood in the distance, covered in glowing symbols. Beyond it, the faint sound of whispering voices. A final challenge awaited them. They stepped through the doorway and immediately froze. The room ahead was lined with mirrors, endless, stretching mirrors, each one reflecting something different. Evelyn saw herself, standing alone, covered in blood. Danny's reflection showed him laughing madly, eyes pitch black. Luke's reflection was missing entirely. And Nina. She let out a horrified scream. Her reflection was rotting, her flesh peeling away. Then the mirrors shattered. Their reflections stepped out. They weren't mirrors anymore. They were real. A twisted, blood-covered version of Evelyn lunged at her, eyes burning with madness. Danny's dark reflection grabbed him, whispering, "You're just like me. You always were." Luke's absence from the mirrors became clear. His reflection didn't exist anymore. He was already one of them. Nina's decayed double laughed as her body continued to rot before her eyes. "This is who we are now," the reflections whispered. "This is what the tunnels make us." The real Evelyn refused to accept it. She grabbed a shard of glass from the floor and stabbed her reflection through the heart. It shrieked, twisting into a mass of shadows, and collapsed. One by one, they fought their twisted selves, until the last of the reflections vanished into the void. But the tunnels were not done with them yet. Beyond the hall of mirrors was a spiral staircase, leading downward once more. At the bottom, a stone altar. Upon it lay a massive book, its pages written in blood. Evelyn stepped forward, reading the ancient text. "The final price must be paid." Luke frowned. "What does it mean?" Then, as if in answer, a message carved itself onto the stone beneath their feet. "Only 4 may leave." Danny's breath hitched. "But there's only 4 of us." Nina's face paled. Evelyn felt her stomach drop. They all turned. Luke was missing. Luke stood at the edge of the chamber, staring at the dark abyss beyond the altar. His hands were shaking. "I figured it out," he murmured. Evelyn ran to him. "Luke, what are you talking about?" His face was blank, hollow. "The book isn't asking for one of us to die," he whispered. "It's asking for one of us to stay." Danny tensed. "Luke, don't." Luke smiled weakly. "This place already took something from me," he said. "I can feel it. I don't belong up there anymore." Evelyn shook her head. "We'll find another way." "There is no other way," Luke whispered. Then he stepped back, and the darkness swallowed him whole. The altar lit up. The book's pages turned on their own, and the final passage was revealed. The tunnels trembled. The stone walls began to crumble. A blinding light erupted from the altar, and suddenly they were falling again. But this time, they weren't sinking deeper. They were rising. The tunnels spit them out into the open night sky. They collapsed onto cold, wet grass, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, they could see the stars. The tunnels had let them go, but something was wrong. The ground beneath them pulsed. The darkness had followed them. The horror wasn't over. They had escaped, or so they thought. The night air was cold, the grass damp beneath their trembling hands. The weight of the tunnels had lifted, yet an unease lingered. Evelyn pushed herself up, her breath still ragged. Danny and Nina lay beside her, staring at the sky in shock. Luke was gone. The silence stretched between them, a mourning void. Then, Danny's voice broke it. "Where are we?" They looked around. It wasn't the same world they had left behind. The sky was unfamiliar. The stars were wrong. The air was thick with something unnatural. And then a sound, a low, whispering voice. It came from behind them. Something had followed them out. Evelyn's skin burned. She gasped. Grabbing her arm, something was etched into her. Flesh. A symbol. A mark. Danny and Nina had them too, as if the tunnels had claimed them, even outside. Nina's voice was barely a whisper. "What does it mean?" Then shadows moved in the trees, a shape, lurking, watching. Danny gritted his teeth. "We need to run!" They bolted through the strange landscape, branches clawing at them, the whispers growing louder. The shadows followed, and the world around them began to change. The farther they ran, the more distorted everything became. The trees twisted, curling into impossible shapes. The ground pulsed, as if alive. Evelyn looked behind them. The shadows were closing in, and then they saw it. A massive, crumbling cathedral in the distance. Its doors stood open, as if waiting for them. "We have no choice," Nina cried. They sprinted inside just as the shadows reached them. The doors slammed shut, and the cathedral came to life. Inside, the air was thick with whispers. The walls were lined with faces, people trapped in the stone, their mouths moving soundlessly. Danny shuddered. "Are they alive?" Then one of the faces spoke aloud. "Turn back." Evelyn stepped forward. "Who are you?" The face shifted, its eyes hollow. "We were like you. The tunnels never let us go. It only moved us." The realization hit them all at once. They hadn't escaped. They had simply entered another layer of the nightmare. A deafening roar filled the space. From the darkness above, something descended, a towering creature, humanoid but twisted, its eyes burning red, its body covered in symbols that matched their own. It spoke in a voice that shook the walls. "You do not belong here!" The doors behind them vanished. They were trapped. Nina staggered back. "What do we do?" Evelyn set her jaw. "We fight!" Danny grabbed a rusted iron torch from the wall, and the creature charged. They dodged, barely escaping its claws. The walls shifted, the faces screaming. Evelyn grabbed a dagger from a nearby altar. Its blade was covered in strange symbols. The creature lunged at her. She stabbed it deep. The cathedral shook. The symbols on its body burned, and it let out a horrifying shriek. Then it stopped. The creature's eyes turned human. It whispered, voice filled with pain. "You must finish what we could not." The cathedral split apart, and the world collapsed into darkness. When they woke, they were somewhere new. A massive gate stood before them, covered in the same symbols as their marks. Beyond it, they saw the real world. They could see home. Danny took a shaky breath. "Is this it?" Evelyn stepped forward, and the symbols on the gate began to glow. Then a voice from behind. "You don't belong there anymore." They turned. Luke stood behind them. But he was not Luke anymore. His eyes were black, his voice a chorus of whispers. He was part of the tunnels now, and he wasn't going to let them leave. Evelyn, Danny, and Nina stood frozen. Luke was there, but it wasn't really him anymore. His eyes were black voids. His voice echoed with 100 others. "You can't leave," he said, stepping closer. Danny clenched his fists. "You're lying!" Luke shook his head. "You don't understand. The tunnels don't let go. They change you." Evelyn felt the mark on her arm. Burn. The gate loomed behind them, their way out. But was it real, or was this another trick? Luke reached out, and the ground began to shake. The sky cracked open. The world around them shifted, warping. The cathedral disappeared. They were back in the tunnels. No gate, no escape, just darkness. Evelyn screamed. "No! We were so close." Nina backed against the wall. "It was a lie. The tunnels made us believe we escaped." Danny grabbed Evelyn's hand. "We have to fight this." Luke smiled. "You still don't get it. The only way out is to sacrifice one of you." The shadows tightened around them. A choice had to be made. Evelyn's mind raced. Could Luke be telling the truth? Was there really no escape unless someone stayed behind? Danny refused to accept it. "There has to be another way." Luke shook his head. "You're wasting time. The longer you stay, the more you become part of it." Evelyn's skin felt colder. She looked at Nina. She was fading. The tunnels were taking her. "We have to go. Now," Nina whispered. "I don't think I can." The realization hit them. One of them was already being chosen, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. Luke stepped forward, his shadow stretching unnaturally. "The tunnels always choose one. They picked her." Nina's body trembled. "I don't want to die." Evelyn's heart pounded. Danny grabbed Nina's arms. "We'll find another way." But the walls started closing in. The tunnels had decided. Nina's feet sank into the ground. Evelyn lunged forward, grabbing her hand. But Nina's eyes turned black. Her voice changed. "Run!" The tunnels began to collapse. Danny pulled Evelyn. "We have to go!" Nina screamed, her body being consumed by the darkness. Evelyn's vision blurred with tears. She wanted to save her, but it was too late. Luke smiled. "She belongs here now." The gate reappeared. It was real this time. The moment they stepped through, Evelyn felt air in her lungs again. The world shifted, and suddenly they were back in the real world. The city lights burned bright. The streets were the same. People walked past them, unaware. Evelyn and Danny stood there, shaking. Nina was gone. Evelyn whispered, "We made it." Danny swallowed hard. Did we? Because on Evelyn's arm, the mark was still there. And in the distance, through the reflection of a store window, she saw Nina, watching them. But she wasn't human anymore, and she was smiling.